in Canada, sponsored by the Traffic Injury Research Foundation and the Insurance Bureau of Canada. Lloyd, what are some of the highlights of that conference that stick with your memory?
That conference brought together about 70 delegates from the international scene, who are people that work in the various aspects of highway safety. The one thing that was looked at was the changing driver environment, from the fact that a new driver was always thought to be a young driver. Not the case anymore. The changing mosaic, I guess, in Canada is now telling us that a new driver can be a 30 or a 50-year-old, and maybe someone who has immigrated to this country and is now learning to drive in our system on our highways. One other thing that was prevalent was the fact that a graduated licensing system now exists in part in both Australia and New Zealand. And while they don't have sufficient statistics to say exactly what has happened from an accident prevention standpoint, some of the things that are looked at are phasing in full driving privileges, so that when you get a beginner's license, you not only need a qualified driver in the vehicle with you, but you have to sort of in steps work your way up for a night endorsement, work your way up from driving in a rural or low volume situation to driving on 100 series or multi-lane highways. There's also one aspect where beginner's license, you can't have other passengers in the vehicles with you, so that it's a stepping stone over a period of months or even years from the time you first get in that vehicle until the time that you have your full privileges.
Well, I think many of us respond to what you're saying. Some of those points relate directly to really tragic accidents that we've seen where 5, 6, 7 people get killed in one single event. It's awful.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate that a number of these fatal situations occur the first year that an individual has their driver license. And I think the experience factor shows us that the more you drive, the more familiar you become with the things that happen around you, and that a motor vehicle is no different than aiming a gun at someone. If you don't know how to use it, somebody's going to get hurt. Mm-hmm. And I think that the graduated licensing process needs to be further studied and discussed, but it certainly has merit, particularly if it saves lives.
There are some wonderful technical advancements on the part of the manufacturers, such as anti-lock braking systems to prevent skids, and 1 or 2 European manufacturers have the opposite, which is a brake on the torque that is going to the tires, which prevents slippage starting out on slippery surfaces. So that's what's happening on the engineering front. What kind of news is there for us about the changing nature of the driving population on the road?
I think that all road users need to be good defensive drivers. In other words, you have to be fully aware of what the other guy might do. And if you are able to foresee a situation that might cause an accident and adjust your driving situation, then you may be able to prevent it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. Lloyd Mitchell, Executive Director of the Nova Scotia Safety Council. Thanks again, Lloyd.
Thank you, Orest.
thank you to Orest, Ulan, and Lloyd Mitchell and its people of the Nova Scotia Safety Council. Remember, safety first. Now, this is a bit of an individual, unique item to our show. It's not too often that we have such an opportunity as this. This is a fairly new vehicle being introduced to the market by Subaru, and we were lucky enough to have a look at it. Terry Waterfield was able to bring this to us, and he and I now take some time to show it to you.
You may have seen in the latest offerings from both the domestic and the import manufacturers, they're coming up with all sorts of new ideas for 92. Subaru seems to be leading the pack. We have their latest offering here with us now, the Subaru SVX. Compliments of Subaru, I guess, Eisner Motors and Terry Waterfield. Thank you very much. What do you think of the car? It's a beauty.
Well, Debbie, from time to time we get cars like this to test for one reason or another, and I can truthfully say that this is the one I'm going to feel the worst about taking back in a little while. This is a car I really want to keep with me. It fits me so well. It's a beautiful car. It's a complete... Nobody believes, in fact, a friend of mine was talking to the people he lived with today, and they said, no, Subaru don't make cars like this.
Mm-hmm.
Subaru makes, kind of dull family sedans, and I think for many years Subaru did make rather dull family sedans, but in the last couple of years they've really come forward with some great products. I had the good fortune just over a year ago to test drive in Niagara Falls their new Turbo Legacy, which is a family sedan. It drives like a sports car. It really does. And it's got all kinds of pets, all kinds of nice comforts to it. But this car here, a high-end car for them, and it's something they've never done before, relatively expensive, and probably out of their budget that most ordinary people like you and me, especially win the lottery next month. But they've put us together a package here that, first of all, looks different, as Subaru have been known to do in the past. But call it SVX. I think if you take the V out, change the E, and add a Y, you've really got a good description of what this car is all about. It's a kind of car that I think when you first look at it, you're either going to like it or you're not going to like it. Because of the lines, it's got a very big greenhouse, and that little funny windows that everybody seems to look at. And the first reaction I had from it, and everybody says, is, well, isn't that getting away when you're driving it? And in fact, you asked that question the other night.
That's right.
And both of us, I think, experienced after driving it for like a half an hour or so that you didn't see it anymore. So it's not a factor. The thing that it does give you is that nice high greenhouse, a lot of good visibility completely around the car. The thing that I like is looking over the left shoulder. With a very small pillar at the back, and you can see there's no blind spot.
That's right.
Like most cars have a blind spot back over that left shoulder when you want to change lanes. You look in the rearview mirrors, and all the rearview mirrors in the world aren't going to show you a car that's sitting right on your
Never.
on your rear fender. With this car, you know it's there.
Well, Subaru has been making a good name for itself in the past few years. It's a very well-respected name, I think, deservedly. It's got a good reputation, good reliability, good durability. But you're right, the looks are sometimes, they seem to be one extreme or the other. They'll either be very sedanish or real quirky. And this one, I think they've gone just so a little of that extreme, of the quirky extreme, but with great results, because you notice it right away. As soon as I saw it in the parking lot, I knew exactly what it was. I'd never seen one in the flesh before. We get something that's such a nice, different front-end treatment. The silhouette, the profile is just beautiful. You can tell right away it's something different. Everything looks so generic after a while. You put it in a wind tunnel, it's all going to start looking the same. But this car certainly is very unique. It stands out.
One of the fun things about driving this around town the last couple of days, of course, it's not, I don't know if there's any other in Halifax on the road right now. I know there's one in the showroom down there. If anybody wants to run up to Eisner Motors and lay down $35,000 plus, I believe it's going to cost them that. They can probably drive away with it very, very quickly. But no matter where you go, somebody's looking at the car. Whether it's parked on the side of the street, whether you're driving down the street, there's somebody, and one of the problems is that everybody's looking at it. One of the real big problems is that everybody wants to go by you. So you realize that there's not too many cars out there that will. Subaru advertises this is a car that will get you so many tickets you can lose your license. And having said that, they go on in great detail to describe how safe a car it is, and it really is a safe car. It's a four-wheel drive car. which is great. As you can see, we're standing here in a bit of rain in the fall with a lot of leaves on the road, but it feels very, very secure coming up the winding road to get us here. It has ABS brakes, which are just, one of the greatest inventions, I think, as far as safety is concerned in the last however many years. The car comes with a very, very easy stop. It runs a 230 horsepower, six-cylinder engine. What, 3 points? We'll have to look it up again.
318.
318, yeah. So it's got lots of punch. According to everything we've read, it's capable of 140 miles an hour. And for the people that have Subaru who have been so kind to let me drive this car, I cannot test for that top speed because I didn't have it in a place where it could be driven
Read it in the brochure, folks.
anywhere near the top speed. But where that kind of power really comes forward is when you're on the highway and you're just behind somebody at 70 and you want to go to 100 and get by. It goes there very quickly, very smoothly, and the car is very, very stable and just feels great on the highway. It's kind of fun once in a while. I did it this morning, as a matter of fact. Somebody in a German car, which I won't mention the name of, came up alongside me at the stop sign, and I was the first one through the intersection, and just on the verge of breaking the city's speed limit when I let him go and have his fun, But
pretty good for four-wheel drive.
Yeah, they know, anybody knows. You let them go. What the heck, life's short. But in between, you kind of show them that they're only going by because you're letting them.
That's right. Yes, nice feeling.
Yeah, but it's so comfortable inside. It's all leather interior, and there seems to be an awful lot of room in. And I guess that's one of the reasons for that little window. In order to open the window all the way down with those big doors, and the shape of the car, because it's so curved at the top, they felt that the doors would have to be just too heavy and too wide and too high.
I was wondered why they would, because of course they just wouldn't do it for the sake of change. All of these kind of things are too expensive just to incorporate for that reason, but to make it so much easier to get in and out, and it does. The door opening is very big as opposed to what they have to leave for glass.
Yeah, and there is a lot of glass there, which gives you the visibility, and it doesn't take away from the looks of the car.
No, not at all.
It's got a lower front end than we're used to seeing in the Subaru, and I think we maybe should take a little look inside, or we do have to look at the engine, don't we?
Oh, yes, we do. We have to find out how to open it first. We're going to have a look at it.
There is the engine.
Isn't it pretty?
Pretty engine.
Nice and clean.
Like I said,
Aerodynamic of the outside.
4 cam, 24 valves, 3.3 liter H6. In other words, there are 6 cylinders, 3 on each side, and they lay flat. There's no V to it. I'm sure there's a reason for doing that, and it's in the book, I guess, but I haven't had a chance to read the whole book through, so I can't tell you what the reason is.
Wouldn't it be surprised that it would be to reduce the height of the cowl line or the hood line?
That's a lot to do
Certainly
with
to keep the engine as squat as possible. And you're saying it's only offered with an automatic transmission?
It only comes with an automatic transmission. Subaru has a lot of reasons for it, but I'm sure the main reason is to keep the price within an affordable price range because of the development costs in doing both. To be perfectly honest, and everything anybody I've talked to or read about who's driven the car, there's really no need in this car for a 5-speed manual transmission. There's a word for it, and it's gone out of my mind at the moment, but you can lock push the manual button and actually hold the gears and you shift your way up through it if you so desire.
Sort of a sport mode. It would shift. It takes a little longer to shift.
You could hold it to the red line as opposed to shifting when the computer tells you it's time to shift.
What did you have it in when we goosed it the other night?
Just in drive.
Just in drive. It was pretty impressive with that.
There's no need. I don't think there's any need. I suppose if you want to take it on a racetrack for some reason, you might want to put a manual transmission in it, or...
Well, you could have a lot of fun with the automatic at first, I believe.
The engine is so trackable and so torquey that I don't think there's any reason for it to have, on the way traffic's going these days in the cities, manual transmissions can be a pain in the behind anyway.
Well, yeah, anybody who has to do a lot of city traffic driving, your left leg sure gets on pretty quickly.
I know, if you talk to people like Ulan and a lot of the Formula One and even the kart drivers, and you ask them what they're driving, and you'll find that they're driving a manual transmission, and their answer is, well, hey, I got to shift all day to work. Why should I do it when I'm enjoying myself? And it is a little bit more work. It's probably a little bit savings on gas, but in around the city, especially if you're driving a lot in a place like Toronto or Montreal or New York, you're constantly going up and down the gearbox.
Well, people slowing down in front of you to have a good look at it in the rearview mirror, too.
Yeah, everybody wants to know what's coming up behind.
Nice-looking engines. Everything fitted in quite well, of course.
If you look at the car, Subaru didn't put the name in the front, only in the back where you can see the nose.
Well, I see they've got it kind of engraved here in the body, but
Yeah.
not too many people are going to realize that.
Okay, Terry doesn't know it right now, but because he sat in the vehicle, he's disrupted his mic, and that's why you're not going to be able to hear him very well. As well, that lovely motorized seatbelt, which, God forbid, we're all going to have to buy into in the next few years, has done a good job of obscuring the mic, too. So I'm going to give you an idea of what it was that Terry was looking at and pointing out, and his little sit in that beautiful SVX. Looking at a steering wheel now, of course, but it's unique in that it both is telescopic as well as adjustable with a memory. Nice, smooth-sounding engine noise, which, of course, you can't hear, but take it from me. And power everything, of course, all the usual amenities in this Luxo-type vehicle. Looking at the climate control unit now, something that has become very state-of-the-art in just about every manufacturer's offerings these past few years. Air conditioning becoming more popular in this part of Atlantic Canada, too. You used to think that a couple of hot, muggy weeks in August were the only time you could use air conditioning, but knowing the slushy, wet winters that we get, conditioned air can be hot or cold, and it's always nice to get rid of all that damp humidity inside the car that you have to face when you get out. Nice hideaway feature here for the radio. A nice little panel that will slide into place when you leave the vehicle. Hopefully that will deter thieves. I don't know, maybe they'll take too much time deciding which of those unique little side windows to break into. With any luck, something will deter them down the road. Power sunroof. Moves all the way back so that Terry can wave to his admiring fans. Of course, the seats are power, both the seat and the back rake, power adjustable. And a very nice ergonomically designed interior with leather interior, of course, and a suede type material covering a lot of the bolsters and armrests, as well as along the front of the dash. Power windows and power locks. Not too much missing in this kind of a vehicle, and not too much that should be missing, quite frankly, too, when you're looking at a price such as this. And you can tell Terry likes playing with all those buttons. It's very well laid out, though. It's easy to decide, well, not taking your eyes off the road, what it is you're actually playing with. And he looks like he's enjoying himself. He looks like he belongs. A beautiful vehicle, both front and rear, a lovely silhouette. Very unique looking vehicle, too, which is, as I mentioned earlier, hard to find in this rather the generic age of wind tunnel design cars. SVX has the winner with this Subaru. Okay, unfortunately, it was a bit of a rainy day, so that the color didn't come through quite as clear as we would like. It was certainly a beautiful car. Our thanks to Terry Waterfield for taking a few of the precious few hours that he had with the vehicle and letting us go over it with a camera and a fine-tooth comb, as well as to Subaru and Eisner Motors. I think you've got a winner on your hands, guys. Okay, now before we get to the last segment of our show, we have a few updates to give you as far as things coming up. We mentioned earlier competition season is over. But we do have the annual general meeting coming up for the CASC, the Canadian Automobile Sport Clubs in this Atlantic region. Now, if you're a car club member, be you an Atlantic Sports Car Club member or a BAC Blue Nose Auto Club member, please keep in mind that this coming weekend will be the annual general meeting. This will be your race, rally, solo workshop. We're having a marshal's workshop as well for those people who come out faithfully, and we thank you very much to man the corners at Atlantic Motorsport Park. There will be a workshop for you people as well. All of this is taking place at the Ramada Renaissance Inn in Dartmouth in the Burnside Park. This is a fairly new inn. We were very pleased to have been able to use its facilities for our Dartmouth Highlands Rally, and it's very well situated. Of course, it's nice and close to home for all of us local people, but keep in mind we're going to have people coming in from New Brunswick, Newfoundland, all across the place. And this year as well, we are teaming up with the AMCR people, the Atlantic Motorcycle Competition Riders Association. They also have an annual general meeting, just about every club does. And this is when everyone will get together, decide what they have done wrong in the past year, what they want to correct for next year, rules, new rules, amending old rules, and of course setting up a calendar as well. So please look forward to that. You'll have registration Friday night at the Ramada in Dartmouth in Burnside Park. We'll have a hospitality suite set up for you as well. Then Saturday, of course, we have Saturday morning the administrative workshops. Then the Atlantic Sports Car Club and its affiliates in this area will get together for individual workshops on Saturday afternoon. Again, if you're interested in solo events, race, rally, anything like that, come along. The workshop, I guess you would have to say, is one of the more important parts of this whole weekend. This is where you get together to discuss your own individual disciplines, unique rules, and what you want to do for next year. We'll have our awards banquet on Saturday night. We're selling tickets for that. We have a dinner, dance, awards banquet, always a good time, and usually very well packed. This will be even more crowded than ever, of course, with all of the other people involved. Buy your tickets now. You can give our Car Club hotline a call for information, 443-4333. And, of course, on Sunday, we wind up with the annual general meeting itself, where workshop reports are given. You're given an idea of what the calendar will be for the coming year. And this calendar shouldn't be so scrunched as it was this year. We've been doing work to the track. I say we, but there are a very small handful of dedicated people who are doing all of this work on the track. And unfortunately, we can't get some of the key people here in to give you an update of what's been going on. But suffice it to note that corner 4 and 5 has been radically reworked. Pavement has been scraped off of it. A lot of the road apples have been coming up through are now removed. I guess we have gravel down and packed, and we'll be paving again in the spring. Be some slight changes to corner 5, a little more banked on driver's right, I understand, as they're going through. It could make the whole thing just a little bit quicker to go through. So it'll be interesting to see what all of the hard work again this year will prove out to be like for a competition season in 1992. But we'll be able to get our competition season underway a lot earlier. As the pavement and the weather holds, of course, we'll keep our fingers crossed. Now, something else to keep in mind, it never rains, but it pours. If you're going to be at that workshop on Saturday morning, you'll be also wondering what it's looking like on TV. TSN is showing at 11:30, 1 hour-long Halifax Moosehead Grand Prix, not to miss. If you're going to be at that meeting and really can't get away, certainly set your VCR. I wouldn't be the least bit surprised we kind of wrap up early so we can see it live ourselves. It's going to be interesting to see what kind of a show they put together for us. Always like seeing the horizon of Halifax on TV, that's for sure. Now, what we have coming up for you is a bit of a prelude as to what's going to be happening with next week's show. This is a very unique individual in the metro area in that Bill MacArthur is the only guy I know of who lives around here who also runs an AIS car. If you're watching any of the Moosehead Grand Prix, you saw this gentleman piloting his car around, doing an excellent job, and next week he's going to go into a lot more detail of how that whole thing came about for him, almost a dream come true. What we have for you now, though, are some little excerpts of his ideas of the race and things that we hope to be looking for next year. Here's Bill.
I think there is every reason to believe that there will be a Halifax race here. Mayor Ducharme is a supporter of the race. She's on the record as being a supporter of the race. I don't think the city is going to be present any kind of difficulty. I mean, as long as Moosehead does the things that they've undertaken to do to make the thing as palatable as they can to the most number of people they can. I think the city has been impressed enough with Moosehead's behavior as a good corporate citizen that the approval should come from the city. But the ultimate decision is, I think, this year for Mr. Ulan to make. And if he does make it, and I'm hoping he does in a positive way, it'd be nice to have Moosehead given a 3-year deal with the city so that they can actually plan.
Yes.
And I think that would be the best thing to happen.
To be sure of something like that, certainly having such a successful event 2 years in a row, that's great for their reputation. It makes it a much more saleable product. They should be able to get major sponsors on stream. But always the question mark of if it can happen again, just pure and simple, can it be held in Halifax again? That's too big a threat to have hanging over their heads for such a major event.
Oh, I think you're right. It's really tough to sort of approach this in a series of one, and then one, and then one, and then one. So multi-year deals are really important. And if we can do it this year and get a 3-year deal, then I think Halifax is going to have quite a festival every fall.
I think it's better all the time. That's right. The initial startup fees, buying all the concrete barriers and things like that, those things are already purchased.
Yeah.
And it should get easier and easier to break even and start making money for them, because I know there's quite an outlay of cash that still went into it last year. here. And we all had a fantastic time. I haven't spoken to one person who was at that event and said, oh, I'll never go back.
Sure.
Everybody, spectators, workers, marshals, everybody had a fantastic time. I know I enjoyed it in my own little way, had a fantastic time. You most certainly did, well documented, and certainly well enough to put that kind of time and money into it again for next year. Now, what is MacArthur, Thompson, and all going to do without you?
Well, I don't think they're going to have to survive without me. The nice thing about this kind of racing is, as I said at the beginning, it doesn't take the 40 hours away from the track repairing for every hour you spend on the track. So to this level, as long as you're physically prepared, you can arrive and drive. And if that's the kind of program I can put together for next year, then I can have my cake and eat it too. I can run a business, and I can drive a race car.
Run a business, drive a race car, have your own wonderful poster, the Spirit of Nova Scotia. This is it. Not too many race car drivers in Nova Scotia have had a painting like this, one of them in their car. Something Bill should be very proud of, and I know he is.
Atlantic Nova Print was one of my biggest sponsors, and they surprised me when they said that Dusan Cadleck had agreed to do a painting, his interpretation of the Spirit of Nova Scotia, and it turned itself into just a marvelous print that I was lucky enough to get that limited edition print number 1 of 950 is now hanging in my living room. But that was a real thrill. I mean, that was an unexpected treat to have that happen, and nice way for a sponsor to say whether to say thanks or to express their interest in motor racing, quite apart from being interested in racing, recognizing the big event for the event it is, and underscoring it with a painting like this is just wonderful.
Oh, yes. Very unique and very Nova Scotian. You've laid in a Bible. Well, I hope we're all going to be back next year, Bill. We said you and I, the whole kit and caboodle. I'm hearing rumors about lots of interesting classes coming out. I think it should be new and improved and definitely here to stay.
Well, I agree with you.
We're going to let you get back to your phone messages and your very busy office life. Thank you very much again. I'm glad you had as good a time. It obviously shows. We'll talk to you again next year.
My pleasure. Thank you.
So stay tuned for next week's show when you see Bill MacArthur and hear him tell you how it really wasn't all that difficult for him to get re-involved with racing, and it's certainly on an AIS car level. Now, please, people, keep in mind, any car club members, and of course AMCR members too, the AGM this weekend, it's a very important meeting. Please don't miss it. Give us a call at the car club hotline if you do want more details. Leave a message there, 443-4333. That's our show for this week. Stay tuned next week. I'm Debbie Clark. Good night.